YouTube, hi, watch, like, subscribe, enjoy. Sorry we didn't have an episode on Monday, but I'm going to explain it in just a second. We're back. Watch. All right, so we're back. We did not have a show on Monday. I'll explain it. I guess I'm going to talk. I'm going to monologue here off the top for a little bit. So if you guys will just bear with me. We did not have a show on Monday because this weekend on Saturday, I was involved in a bad car wreck. I was driving towards Mississippi. I had to take my sister's car home to my mama, and I was driving down I-57. I was right outside Johnston City, Illinois, and I got caught in a thunderstorm, and a wind burst caught me and sent me hydroplaning, and I was going about 60 miles an hour, and I started spinning, and it was a really bad one-car wreck. I spun, and then I hit there was a rail there, which there wasn't a rail on most of that interstate, but there was a rail there. If there hadn't been, I would have been going flying off the interstate. I hit the rail, and then the momentum threw me back across into the interstate, and some cars grazed me as they went by. But a paramedic came and pulled me by the chest and right here and pulled me out of the car and put me on the side of the road. And yeah, physically, I didn't get hurt. The only injury I had was I had two strained muscles in my legs from bracing for the impact. So physically, I was okay, and I ended up after the wreck. They took me down to Mississippi, and I stayed at my mama's for about 5 days. And then I drove home very carefully yesterday. Couldn't drive the speed limit. I was scared. But physically, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong with me. They looked over me for concussion. They cleared me. I was good. Physically, nothing. Mentally, I've been going through it. Mentally, I've had a rough week. I haven't slept. I thought it was over. When I lost control of the car, I thought it was over. And I threw my hands up, said, "Lord, help me." And I came through it, but I hadn't been able to sleep, and I haven't been able to really eat. But I'm getting better, so hopefully by next week, we'll be back. But that's why we didn't have a show the other day. And I think instead of doing a show, the three of them, and then me having to answer questions, I think they made the wise decision of not doing a show at all, and that way I wouldn't be front and center. So that's why you haven't seen me in much content this week. I put out the one video with Titus, but we recorded that last Thursday. And a lot of people have texted me this week, and I haven't answered. But I'm getting through it. Again, physically, no problems. Mentally, I'm screwed up. All I thought about was my wife and my kids, and yeah, it could have. I thought it was over just like that. And the scary part was I didn't do anything wrong. I was driving about 10 miles under the speed limit. I had my flashers on, and the storm just moved me and spun me, and it could have been over like that. That's why we didn't have a show the other day. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Well, I could feel like I could talk to you about this forever. I know we've been texting about it, but obviously, you can take as much time as you ever need to with this stuff because you are like the king of content. We like to give you a lot of shit for that, but it's true. And so when you told us what was going on, it was an absolute no-brainer for all of us that it's most important that you get back on track. And I can't imagine how that felt. And we're happy you're okay. We love you.
Yeah, thank you.
We really, really love you.
Nobody know. The four of you know. Big Cat knows, and Nick Terraini knows, and my sister knows, and that's the only 7 people that knew about it in the entire company. So nobody else even knew that I was out of commission this week.
Well, I will tell you that
kind of embarrassing, but
it's not embarrassing. And this, I don't know, the version of the mama bear. I don't know what I would be to you, like the sister bear, I guess. I don't know, but all the tweets that we were getting throughout the week of oh, the college football podcast that didn't, hasn't recorded this week and all that. It took every ounce of my being to not just rip these people apart online, be like, you don't fucking know what's going on.
Yeah.
But obviously I didn't, because that would have been stupid. But it, first and foremost, we're all human beings and we love you and we're a family here, and we're just happy you're here.
the timing was bad. We're right there at the season. So, but we will be here for 2 episodes the rest of the month, and then we'll go to 3 when the season starts. We're right there with college football. So we don't have to talk about it any further. Jack, Katie, you want to tell me how awesome I am?
No,
And he's back.
I'm glad.
No.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
And, my sister got into a really, really bad car crash when she was, I think, 10 or 11, and I still remember it. And it's one of those things that if there wasn't a railing there or something here, it really could have gone a different way. And, yeah, life is like, it's a very precious, weird thing. But I'm really glad. When I heard it, I was like, oh, my God. But the fact that your hair is, I mean, I don't know what would have happened. It would have been like really bad for us too. Thank the Lord.
I can't sleep. But hopefully I'm getting back on track. Anyway, y'all want to talk some college football?
Yeah.
I would like
We have
to
a
do
lot.
that.
The whole college football world's gone to shit since I had that wreck. Just gone to shit.
Well, not only that, we do need to mention, and this was like on all of us, that last week we recorded an episode on Wednesday, released it on Thursday, because that was like a plan that we had put in place. And even in those 24 hours, a bunch of shit hit the fan.
Yeah,
So
we'll get to all of it. We'll get to all of it. All right, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you by
The good folks at High Noon. In front of Katie and Jack in the studio right now are 2 pool packs, which is limited right now. If you've seen the pre-roll, which I just actually saw for the first time, the one that I've been talking about that we recorded in the Hamptons, like where Dave just makes fun of Rico the whole time, which is actually incredibly funny because Rico and High Noon have a long history. But the entire time I was watching those pre-rolls, I was just like, I don't know what it is about a High Noon can in the sun, but it just pops. Katie, like, I mean, you're wearing the Nooner shirt right now. Like those colors, when the good light hits it, when the natural light, it just makes you want one right away, even if you're not even thirsty.
Whoever designed the cans deserves a raise. I think it's the best color scheme. It looks great. It's sleek. Also, like, you see everyone with photos. It just looks nice. It's photogenic.
Yeah, no, I mean, High Noon, we could talk literally for an hour about their rise, how great they've been. And they've been with us forever. And since the start. So, I mean, I love High Noon, and I would have loved High Noon if they even had a podcast that was about how bad our podcast is, because that's how good the product is. Like, I'd be like, man, it stinks supporting them, but this peach vodka soda is phenomenal.
The peach is great. You can't beat it.
You can't. I years and years are going to go by. I'm going to be like 75 years old and still talking about the peach bath. But, the tequila, I'm so excited for the tailgate pack that's coming out, which, Brandon mentioned it in the open, but football's coming quickly. Like in this month, we have a full slate of college football. The tailgate pack will be there. So anyways, it's High Noon all the time, every single season. But right now it is the pool pack. Go to Drizly, your local convenience store, your liquor store, highnoonsunsips.com. You guys know where to get them at this point. If you don't know where to get High Noon, you are living under a rock. So thank you to High Noon. And Brandon, I want to point something else out to you. I have 2 things to point out to you.
Yep.
Well, 3 actually.
Yep.
1, your shirt is phenomenal. That's the add-on.
I love the shirt.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
You look like you should be riding a bull.
Shout out to my people at Roosevelt's. Yeah.
Number 2, did you notice Jack got a new haircut?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I noticed Jack looked bad. I don't like how Jack looks at all. It's a haircut. He's shaved.
He said nice things about you, and you gotta go.
No. Let him get back. We gotta let him cook. We gotta
let
get
him
into his
get out.
zone.
I gotta get some cuts. Jack, you look great. You look great.
Brandon.
Hey. Yeah. I had to clean up a little bit. I understand that people know me as the disheveled, long hair, patchy beard, and maybe that's the better vibe. But right now I look like I just graduated college, and it could be worse. Like I like my haircut. I like it. Some people, I will say,
he likes it. I text him and I said I think it looks good.
I have been asked a few times if I am playing for the other team. Yep.
I like the Greer's line.
There was a man that slid into my DMs asking to buy me a drink, and I'm like, no. But Greer says that I went into the haircut place and asked for the Megan Rapinoe, which that was actually my point of reference. I put up the phone to my hairdresser and was like, "Hey, do this."
They got the color wrong.
Yeah.
I think that if you like it, Jack, that's what's most important. I think it looks good.
I don't know that you look like Megan Rapinoe. You look like you got a 50s housewife hairstyle going on.
Jesus.
No, that's usually, isn't that like really high up right now? Or
no,
like
it's the short cropped and the husband's coming home from work and you got food on the table and the kid's been into all sorts of shenanigans all day.
You're confusing that with like the soccer mom minivan haircut, I think.
No, I know what he's saying. Like I could be on like the cover of I could be somebody that's pushing, I don't know, local.
Yeah, no, you look like a third-year gender studies student at Stanford.
Third-year gender student at Bowdoin College.
Yeah.
Someone said I look like their lesbian PE teacher. I think that was the best one I've gotten so far. But I love all the support. Thank you guys. You guys are so nice. Everyone's just been amazing about my haircut.
Yeah.
All right, Jack. Is Scoop City happening or not?
No. Wait. Third thing. This is episode 300.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yay. Good for us.
Just thought everybody should know.
Nobody deserves it more than us. We'll celebrate episode 301 on Monday.
Well, I will tell you, Brandon, that part of, we knew that Monday obviously was a very serious situation and that since it's not the season, we didn't want to do a podcast for all the reasons you mentioned before, but also we were like, it is episode 300. And while it's not going to be like a huge deal, it is kind of important to have the heart and soul here for episode 300.
Yes. Heart and soul of Barstool Sports. All right. The college football world. Jack, we're going to just cover this 9 ways from Sunday. Obviously, Colorado's now headed to the Big 12, which frankly feels fine. They've always felt more like a Big 12 team, but they're not really the story anymore. And the story is the unraveling of certain conferences, the desperation of Florida State all of a sudden to get out of the ACC, the Big 10 going into hunting mode perhaps with all these others. Casey, what are you doing?
No, keep talking.
Okay. The Big Ten looks like they're going into hunting mode. Like everything about the stability and sanctity of college football is like up in the air right now, as conference realignment is the dominant story once again for the third or fourth straight year. And Jack, as much as I have towed the line and been like, it's just a new world and you got to get used to it, I'm a little disheartened and disenfranchised right now from college football because of all this change and all this chasing the money. I understand it's a business. That's what it is. But it feels like the business of college football over the last 3 years has overtaken the sport and has started to choke the life out of the sport a little bit. Is that a crazy thing to say, Jack?
No, and I think we're about to see it's really happening. It's happening in ways that I don't think we thought it could really happen, but when we look back on it, I think we can point to a few things of Pandora's box being opened, and it's over now. It's like not that college football is over, but it's like once USC and UCLA said we're fine going and playing Rutgers, then it's like, yeah, okay, Florida State, when it's like, oh, Florida State and Clemson, their only option was the SEC, they're like, wait a second. We'll play Ohio State and Michigan. It makes us just as much fucking money. And then we can, and it's so funny because Nicole Auerbach, who was on Titus' show, and also Katie's, I think, favorite college football journalist out there.
She's one of them.
She's awesome.
National
She's great.
reporter.
She's great. She's a great national reporter. She wrote an article, or maybe it was somebody else at The Athletic, about how all these other sports are so irrelevant to these schools that they're just like, oh yeah, wait a second, we have to send our volleyball team to go play Rutgers. How are we going to do that? And they're like, wait, we didn't really even consider that. It's almost like I wish we could all come together and say, you know what? We fucked up. Let's just restart this thing.
Let's all go back to our corners.
Yes, and go back, and then let's all be like, okay, how can we make this rational? Because right now, it's not rational. Florida
We
State.
should have stood up a year ago and been like, USC and UCLA, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stay out there. Well, what's going on?
But the issue is like the summer before when the SEC made the move to go get Oklahoma and Texas, it made so much sense because that does. I mean, that one makes sense, even though, if you're a Big 12 fan, it sucks. But then it was like the next move to be made with UCLA and USC. It was like, okay, well, wait a minute. But the SEC just went and made these power moves.
Well,
at the end of the day, I would love, Jack, you said it perfectly. If everyone could just go back and like redraft, right? If we could just like wipe the slate clean and say, okay, like everybody relax, everybody take a breath. Let's just figure out what makes the most sense. And that is not UCLA playing at Hawaii and at Rutgers in the same season. But that's what's happening right now.
Florida State, I think, is the perfect example of the business of sports overwhelming the actual sport. Florida State, and camps are opening this week, by the way. And we're talking about the business of sports. We're not talking about position battles. We're not talking about freshman reporting. We're talking about teams chasing money. So Florida State, to me, is the perfect example of this. They are getting ready for their biggest football season in a decade. They have a Heisman contender at quarterback. They have a loaded roster. They play in the most important week 1 game. They have a chance to be a national title contender this year. And are we talking about Jordan Travis today? We're not. Are we talking about Jared Verse today? We're not. Are we talking about their game against LSU? No. We're talking about where they're going to play 5 years from now and how much money it's going to cost to get out of the ACC. That sucks.
It really does stink, but if you think about it from a business, right? Business, and this is what happens here, this is what happens everywhere. You look at the business as a whole, and you're like, things are going great right now. We love it. But 3, 5, 10 years, that's why those guys get paid, to help protect the brand of Florida State down the line. And Clemson is having these same conversations. They just don't want to be the bad guy.
Let me ask you this. What if they move and the grass isn't greener? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't put the ACC back together.
Well, no, and it might not be greener. There's a good possibility for them with that. But once you say those things, it doesn't matter. The grass could be completely dead on the other side.
I do think it's greener, though. It is greener.
Well, it is. But even if it's not,
the money that's happening, it's the power 2 now. And if you're not in there, you're like, Florida State and Clemson want to be dominant forces in the college football world. And if you're not in the SEC or Big Ten, you're not a dominant force. That's the bottom line. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be money. These TV contracts over the next 10 to 20 years are going to turn schools into what their worst nightmares are, which is what Florida State is preparing for. And this is what the Board of Trustees said. They're like, we're sick of fucking dragging Boston College, Wake Forest out of the gutter. We don't get paid enough. The next TV contract's going to suck. We're out. And it may hurt us in the short term, but we're leaving. And Clemson's going to say the same thing, without a doubt. They are going to leave. The ACC, I'm going to say right now, is dead. It's over.
You don't see UNC in any conversations, and that's the biggest.
They are, though. They definitely are.
Well, I think Miami's definitely having talks. I think everybody in the descending order is looking around saying, all right, how are we going to catch this life raft out of here?
Yes, I think there's obviously you have the Florida State, Clemson. I hear Miami a bit. Maybe I'm listening to the wrong things, but I've probably heard UNC's name 2 or 3 times in the past month. So I feel like that just shows, again, the basketball versus
because
football.
they're not the lead domino. They're the 4th or 5th domino.
But they are. But when you look at the dominoes falling, Katie, eventually they will take basketball into consideration because I mean, it won't be at the forefront, but it will. I mean, you say the ACC is dead, which I agree with. But I mean, again, last week we looked at this, and I know there's still a lot of things happening, and for sure, whenever we get off this podcast, some other news is going to break. But the Pac-12 is drowning too.
Pac-12's dead.
Oh, it's dead.
I mean, the Pac-12, it was already in just dire trouble when UCLA and USC left. And I understand it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, like they don't have a huge fan base because it is LA, but they have the biggest TV market and they are the marquee names or some of the marquee names. Then Colorado leaves, and then now it's Arizona, Oregon. What's going to happen? The Pac-12 and the ACC potentially both dying at the same time is crazy. Like it's not just one conference
Yeah,
that's
as crazy as it is, it makes perfect sense. Like he said, it's going towards the Big Two, and eventually, when you cut off the water supply of the other plants, they're going to die. And,
but the Big 12 is trying. They're treading water so bad.
I think the Big 12's leadership has done a hell of a job.
Yeah. Big 12 has made themselves in such a great way, being like, here's the thing, it's the top two, but being number 3 in the college football world in terms of conference in the future is going to be very valuable. It's not like it's nothing, but also I think let's say Clemson and Miami and Florida State leave. I think you could still make a really, really good conference between that's almost like the Big 12 of the East Coast.
Yeah.
In
the alliance.
Jack's got UConn in the ACC.
No. This is the best thing that could have happened to UConn. And UConn's played it perfectly. They've stayed in the independence. And then once somebody comes calling and everything falls apart, there's UConn.
And the Big 12 haven't they outwardly said like they want to be a basketball conference?
Yeah.
Like, first and foremost.
Jack,
I think they're still a fine football conference. I mean,
but I'm saying I think
as good as the others.
They're actively.
Yolmark has said that basketball's undervalued long term.
Yeah.
Well, they're a fine football conference, and yes, there are still some programs. But once Texas and OU leaves, that does, even though both Texas and OU haven't won a national title in a while, that still takes a huge hit to the football side of things, right?
Football
Brandon?
is where the money is at the end of the day. Period. Full stop.
I think they've done a good job of picking up the pieces after Texas and Oklahoma left.
And honestly, I will say this. I don't remember what episode that we did, but it's been a little bit ago. But it was about conference realignment. It was like if you had to guess in 5 years which conference wasn't alive or didn't survive. I don't remember all of our answers, but I mean, I'm sure the Big 12 was thrown around at that time, and I mean they have done the best job at treading water. There's no doubt. But I mean, what's happening to the Pac-12 and the ACC, even though it makes sense, is still insane. That we're living in a time where the Power Five is just falling apart.
It's really happening. Like, I think it's like over this next week or 2 or 3 weeks, there's like some serious things are going to happen. I know I put out the tweet about Clemson and Florida State. Florida State announced what they announced. They pretty much went out there and said, we're leaving. And like, it doesn't matter. The board of trustee literally said, not if, we are going to leave. And then you have and I think here's the thing. If Florida State leaves, Clemson's gone. Like it does. Like
they have to be.
And then it's like, what happens to Miami, North Carolina? These are big time brands. And then Pac-12's dead. Arizona State are leaving. Oregon, Washington are leaving. What's going to happen to the likes of Oregon State and Washington State? I don't know. Those are 2 pretty good like programs, but it's like, will they get picked up, or are they just now the Mountain West?
This is one of those situations where, as college football fans, you have to step back and you have to say, we're really not wanting to talk about this right now. We are in the same month that not only week 0 is happening, week 1 is happening. All this conversation is for the offseason, just like with the NIL last year and the year before, it was like, we're gladly willing to discuss this in the offseason because we don't have anything else to talk about. For me, and I feel like it is kind of a resounding kind of sentiment on Twitter, not that says much, but it's like, all right, like we get it. We're just ready for it to happen. We're ready for football to start. I'm over, who's going to go where. I'm okay with a lot of it happening, but can we just play some football, please?
Yeah, I think Florida State fans are the perfect example. They're getting ready for the biggest season in a decade. They're excited, and yet they're having to worry about their future, and they're having to refresh the internet every 5 seconds to check on where they're going, what's happening.
Right.
And it's just a confusing time. But I'm going to make the promise to the people right now, when we get back Monday, and I'll be up and at them and everything, and we're going to talk about any conference realignment that happens, and we'll do it. But we're zeroing in on the 2023 season, and we're going conference by conference. We're going to go ACC, Big 12. We're going to nail our previews starting Monday, and really just kind of focus on the football, because that's really all I want to do. I want to focus on football.
Fall camps are here, and I feel like we have to spend more time literally refreshing Twitter to see the realignment. I want to be like, okay, who's like the Auburn quarterback? Casey sent a list about that.
I'm so confused why this happened now.
So late?
Yeah, like,
well, it's power struggle. It's like something is going on.
What? Like
the TV deals.
Like, what the fuck happened in June? Like, where were these guys in June? On vacation? I mean, I guess it's like, but then it's like, I mean, I guess it's one of those things. It's like they heard that Oregon Washington's leaving, and then Florida State's board of trustees are like, wait, where does that leave us? And then
I
everything.
think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I think Colorado left the Big 12, or left for the Big 12. The Pac-12 started to spiral, and Florida State looked around and said, all right, before this one starts to spiral, we're getting the hell out of here.
And Florida State's probably been trying to leave for a little bit.
And I know the Big Ten is trying to make a play for Florida State and Clemson probably. I just don't know why the SEC wouldn't take Florida State and Clemson tomorrow. I don't understand it. And if it's all this garbage about Florida needs their own state, that's bullshit. Auburn and Alabama share a state. We share a state with Ole Miss.
And they're smaller.
Texas and Texas A&M share a state. Why would that be a problem? Why would South Carolina get their own state in the SEC? It's weird.
It's very weird. It's all, as I've said, we've all said a million times, it's power struggle. I think the thing that's like the most frustrating for anybody who's following this is like, you just don't know when it's going to change. And at some point it's just like, when is it going to start to really make sense? And I've been very, very strongly opinionated about like, hey, college football's changing and we've got to get behind it, for better or worse, if you don't like it. But it's like, if we have two major conferences, which is where it's going, you can't play every team in your conference. That's the one thing that scares me the most with all of this. It's going to become now, it's like, yeah, okay, there's 20 teams in the SEC, 20 teams in the Big Ten, or whatever it may be. And they're not all going to play each other. Like, that sucks. That part of it's really going to suck.
I do think Mississippi State's future national championships in the bigger SEC are going to be more impressive than they would have been in the regular 14-team SEC. So,
Casey, do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Man, Texas A&M ruined college football forever"?
Good question, Jack.
Like, I hate to get serious. I know, like we've had a hell of a podcast so far, but do you ever look in the mirror and think, "We really fucked this whole thing up, man"?
We did the whole thing. Yeah.
You know what? A&M was not the first team to leave the Big 12.
You guys, when you went to the SEC, you guys are. I think we look back, A&M's success in the SEC is why everything changed.
I will say that the amount of arguments I have had over the years about why A&M moving from being in the middle of the pack in the Big 12 to middle of the pack, if not sometimes less in the SEC, is because of the money and where they're playing and the brand recognition and playing the best teams every year. I see your point. Now, I don't think that it's A&M's fault that they were the first one that figured it all out, but it is a really good blueprint of like, hey, look at all this extra money. And the facilities that A&M had when I was in school, my freshman year versus when I was leaving and when Johnny was there, night and day difference. So I see your point, Jack, but it's not A&M's fault that, don't hate the player, or what is it? Hate the game,
not the player.
There is one thing you guys did, I think, succinctly ruin. That is a coaching contract. Jimbo Fisher, you set the bar.
I'll take that.
You set the bar.
But it's only been raised
Mel
more.
Tucker.
Because
that was the first 10-year deal. I feel like that was like.
Yeah, but Mel's deal's worth more than Jimbo's right now. Jimbo's contract right now doesn't even look that bad, to be honest.
Guys, Texas A&M fucked it up for everybody. What are we talking about?
I just want
to say quickly, Texas A&M ruined college football forever, and
Missouri
Johnny football, it's your fault.
Missouri was with them.
True, Missouri also did it, but whatever. They don't matter. Truth serum. Every single person on here, Brandon, especially you, because you're in a state with another school. Let's just say hypothetically, at one time, Ole Miss was given their own network worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and it might be an hour and a half, say, from your campus. And you're sitting there like, well, wait a minute. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of resources. We also are competitive in a lot of sports. Why don't we just go to another place that's going to appreciate us more? You're trying to tell me Mississippi State wouldn't have done that?
That's to say them ruined college football. Right.
That's what I thought.
I think we need to quote card
actually. The Longhorn Network ruined college football, because if the Longhorn Network...
That's actually probably pretty close to true.
Yeah, that's actually,
the Longhorn Network wouldn't have happened, places like A&M and Oklahoma State, but that was a huge factor forced other teams and other schools to be like, well, wait a minute, why the fuck do they get this? Which, by the way, LOL now at the Longhorn Network.
Yeah, we didn't really give it... We didn't laugh at that enough at the time. They really thought a network for one school sports would work.
And that was, if you're like ingrained in the Texas, football world in there, it's like, why would we compete for recruits when they have their own network 24 hours? By the end of that network, they were showing live feeds of Bevo's like habitat.
They've won nothing. It doesn't matter the sport outside of like swimming and track and field. The main three sports since the Longhorn Network launched: football, failure; basketball, failure; baseball. I don't think they've done anything. I could be.
They've been in
wrong.
the College World Series, but pretty. I mean,
They're
they have won.
considerably top 5 Directors Cup, which is ironic because Stanford wins it every other year.
Directors Cup's a joke, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stanford just has every sport.
No. It's Directors Cup. I say it's a statement just for like overall athletic program.
Yeah, but it's like I don't give a fuck about fencing. Like, why is that giving me the same?
It weighs fencing and it weighs women's curling the same as it weighs football.
But they could also
pound for pound success.
They could win the Directors Cup every single year, and they still don't deserve their own 24-hour network that's tied to ESPN.
Who would be the saddest school to have their own network? Vanderbilt?
That's okay.
Just watching Vanderbilt sports all the time?
Vanderbilt could also do, like, how the Longhorn Network played like episodes of Friday Night Lights all the time, which is also awesome. But Vanderbilt could do like live Nashville country music stuff, and that would play.
The Grand Ole Opry and
that would play. Yeah. So you have to have a network in a place where not only are the sports really sad, but also like they don't have any entertainment value whatsoever.
Iowa State would be brutal.
I was going to say Purdue.
At what point, this is the Vanderbilt brought this up, with conference realignment, obviously, like, ignore the contracts or whatever, are we going to see schools almost get booted from a conference?
I don't think that will ever happen.
Like, you're like
I don't know if they'll get booted from conferences. However,
Indiana.
I don't think you're going to see that. What you're going to see is schools left without a place to land.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at Washington and Oregon, who look like they might be preparing their own parachutes, Arizona State are preparing their own parachutes. Washington State and Oregon State might just be fucked. Like,
it's like a lunch table, and instead of like everyone saying like, "Hey, you have to leave and go find a new seat," it's one by one, everyone just getting up. It's like, okay, like USC is gonna get up and go sit at another table. UCLA is gonna go sit at another table.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like 2 kids are left looking around like, where'd all our friends go? That's what this feels like.
I'm glad you said that, because this is non-football topic, but I got to talk.
No.
I saw the seating chart in the new Barstool New York office, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my entire life. You'll have a pod with there's 6 chairs per pod. Tommy and Roan and a couple guys, Sass, are in a pod. And then I was looking for Casey, and I couldn't see her. There was like seats here with Rhea and Fran, and then there was Kelly Keegs. And where's Casey? Casey, your seat is the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. You're in a pod with Frank, Rico,
Big Av,
you, Vibs, Smitty, and Big F.
Yeah, I will be.
How did you get in that pod?
Well, first of all, I didn't think I was even going to have a permanent desk, because I will be in Chicago, not all the time.
No, but you will go to that desk, and I need to see you sitting at that desk.
I thought, going into it, because I was told, like, hey, you're going to be in Chicago every week, then you'll be traveling on the weekend. If you don't think you might need a personal permanent personal desk, then let us know. So I was like, hey, like if somebody else needs this desk or needs a desk, like I won't be there very often, especially in the football season. So give it to somebody else. So when the seating chart came out, I didn't even look for myself. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Like I'll just be at like a side desk. And then I started getting tweets about it, or I got a text. Let me tell you the first thing I saw about it. At 1:19 a.m., I get the PDF, talent seating arrangement from Rico. If this changes, I'll know it was you who asked out.
He texted you at 1:19 a.m.
And at 3:15 a.m., because I saw it and was going to feed my son, I said, LOL, stop it. And he's not said anything back to me. But like,
he's already talked like it's a row. He's like, it's a power row, I think is what he said.
I'm going to go insane. I am going to go batshit crazy. I love Frank the Tank. Who doesn't love Frank the Tank?
You're going to need soundproof headphones.
between him and Rico and Smitty, and then you get Big Ev in the mix. Like, first of all, I think Vibbs is just going to off himself. Like, Vibbs is toast. How am I ever going to even think when I'm even there for the small amount of time I might be sitting at my desk? It's going to be. I'm going to know everything about the Mets I could possibly need to know, and I'm not going to want to know any of it.
I got to continue on this, and if you guys don't care about the inside Barstool stuff, I'm sorry. Jack Mack is one pod behind you. He's with the mean girls.
Yep.
With Jordan and Alex. He's definitely going to radicalize them.
Yep. Alex won't be too difficult.
And who else is on yours?
Gaz.
Large.
Cody Large.
Oh my God. What a group of people that is.
Yeah. Gaz keeps saying he's coming back to New York. I'll see it when once I see it, I'll believe it. It's a hell of a crew.
That one might just actually, now that I think about it, that one might just be empty all the time.
That one will literally just be me and Cody. It's just going to be Cody and I. And then, I mean, Gaz, but when Gaz is here, he's never at his desk because he's in meetings literally 24/7. So then we're trying to get Katie in that desk.
I'm still up in Siberia.
No, I said Katie should sit at my desk because her and Rico going back and forth would be phenomenal.
No, I'm sorry. I can't let that happen. You have to go twice a week and sit at that desk.
Twice a week?
Not you, her.
Because I'll be in Chicago too, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, he's saying that like the days that I'm not traveling and the days
you need to be at that desk and you need to report for duty. And I need to see. I would like a camera on you at all times.
You want me to just every day, like, you know how RIP, but Mincy would have to like send like a daily log to Dave about what he had done. I'll have to like send you a daily log of the conversations that were had.
Honestly, it could be a TikTok series.
Yeah, it really could be.
Katie's on it, and she's right. Imagine me just documenting that. I won't be there enough in the fall, like sitting there all day, every day.
Really great idea. I'm gonna do a TikTok
really
about this seating chart. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go, Jack.
Also, I don't think it's picking up, but the Jersey Shore cast is here. All the women. I think they're in the lobby. I can hear a lot of screaming right now.
Yeah, the Italians.
Rico probably asked about DJs.
Oh, that show is OG guilty pleasure watching. There is, Jack, I know you remember this. Now the Jersey Shore cast is like so ingrained in everything Barstool does that it's no big deal. But the first time they ever came to the office was probably the biggest reaction. Was what, 2018?
It was
the entire third floor of the old office cleared out because the cast was down there. It was like Brad Pitt walked in. It was crazy.
We're keeping them relevant. I swear to they're like Barstool, Jersey Shore MTV better be paying Barstool money because of what we've done for Jersey Shore. Like, but people, it's like, oh, this, that. It's like, no, they're washed. Y'all are washed.
I want to talk about a couple of college football stories. I don't think we're going to go very long today because I'm kind of out of it. I'm doing the best I can, but
no, you're doing great. This has been a great show.
Yeah,
we'll be fine.
Doing great.
Iowa kicker Aaron Blom has been accused of placing 170 bets totaling $4,400 before turning 21 years old. But so he's in trouble. Yeah, he's probably screwed. Him and Hunter Deckers over there at Iowa State, who's betting too. But Blom used an account registered to his mom to place the bets. But here's the best part of this story, because I think we should hire him because he's a sharp gambler. He's a kicker for Iowa, right? That means he scores points, and he bet the under in the Cyhawk series. He bet the under, and I think I don't know if that's how they called him, but he bet the under of 2021 Iowa State game. If you're a player going into a game and you're a point scoring player, imagine the mentality and the smarts you got to have bet the under.
Especially when it's, well, I mean, the mentality would be you go out there and you purposely miss, but I don't think that's what he was doing. He wasn't shaving points.
He
right?
No, he didn't. I think he kicked 2 field goals. He made them. And then also, but there in that game, there was actually a field goal missed by the Iowa State kicker with like 4 seconds left. And he bet under 45.5. And I think the total ended at 44. So I would love to see if we could somehow get a zoom in on the Iowa kicker when that Iowa State kicker was going out there and kicking it.
In other news, Johnny Manziel will open a bar in College Station. Now, a lesser man could point out that Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M are trying to cling to a shred of glory they had 10, 12 years ago, and they haven't been able to repeat that since, but I'm not going to do that. Johnny's awesome.
What does that have to do with the fact that it doesn't matter what school you are at? If you are a legend at that school, you are forever a legend no matter what happens.
No, I'm just playing. Johnny's great, and I'm surprised it took this long for Johnny to have a bar in College Station.
So I act like I know all the bars there. I've obviously been out of school for a long time, and I do not ever go back to College Station.
When did you graduate? Texas A&M, 93 or 94?
When did you graduate? Didn't you graduate like 97?
Ha! Joke's on you. I never graduated college.
I graduated in 2012. Thank you. Which, yes, is a long time ago. But I know I've talked about Northgate before, but there's like 30 bars in just like a few blocks. And there was a bar there that it's Chimmy's, and it's actually very popular in Lubbock as well. It's where the Dr. Pepper shootouts came from, if you ever hear from that with Texas Tech. But that was like Johnny's bar. He's like painted on the wall there. And so when he got drafted, he bought like the whole bar, beers and shots and all that stuff. And like he goes back every once in a while and does that. I thought after his NFL career ended that he would probably go back and either invest in something or whatever. So I didn't think that was ever going to happen. So it kind of surprised me that it took him, like you said, it took him this long, but it doesn't surprise me whatsoever because that bar is going to be packed. Isn't it called Money Manziel too? Or that's what it's supposed to be called?
Think so. My biggest question is like,
I mean, the news is coming out like a week before his Netflix documentary episode comes out. So
I'm so excited about these Netflix shows, man.
I am too. I can't wait. I haven't watched the Jake Paul one yet. Have you?
I don't care about Jake Paul. I care about the Urban Meyer Florida one, and I care about the Johnny one. Did y'all see? I don't know if y'all watched my video with Titus. But we went to this sports collectors convention last Thursday, and we're walking along, and it's it's a place for sports nerds. I loved it. Urban Meyer just walked past us twirling a baseball that I guess he had just bought, a signed baseball or something. Urban Meyer was just skipping along through there. I was like, that's Urban Meyer. So he's enjoying his life.
Did you talk to him?
Did he look like he had any type of headache?
Not a care in the world. He was literally twirling, just tossing the baseball up.
I saw the clip and I was just like, God, I can't imagine what would have happened had you put that clip out during college football season, like on the college football show, the argument that would have gone on between two of our co-hosts. But he's an enigma, man. Like he's a guy that he cries wolf all the time and is like, oh, I'm sick. I got all these headaches, but he's so good at coaching football that it's like anybody would take him in a heartbeat.
I want him back in the college game. Immediately.
Need him.
The shady shit that we'll learn about at Florida that we already know about, but hopefully learn more about, the stuff at Ohio State, all of it. It's just like, well, I don't know. He's a really good football coach. So it's like only a certain amount of people could do that. And obviously Urban Meyer's one of them. But
speaking of shady shit, Hugh Freeze has resurrected the Auburn recruiting machine. They're rolling. They got 2 5-stars over the weekend. Flipped one from Georgia, one from Alabama. So the SEC recruiting wars are as hot as they can possibly be right now. I don't know about Hugh Freeze this year, but Hugh Freeze long term is going to be really good.
And he said today, I think his quote was, "I don't think it's really that hard to recruit at Auburn. It's an elite program. I think it just has elite pockets."
Well, it's not an elite program. It's not an elite program, but it is an elite fan base at caring about football and supporting football and doing the things necessary to get recruits. Paying money.
Did you see how he said he's very uncomfortable though?
Yeah, I'm sure one call to an escort service will get him comfortable enough.
He said this is the most uncomfortable fall camp that he's ever gone into because of the new world of roster turnovers.
I just don't get how you have any doubt. It scares me that Robbie Ashford versus Peyton Thorne. Like,
I don't think it's Robbie Ashford versus Peyton Thorne. I just think it's Peyton Thorne.
That's what I assume. So why?
And then his running back didn't show up.
Yeah, top running back still
Jaquez
suspended.
Hunter.
We think.
He's from Mississippi.
Yeah, he's from. Yeah, then there was somebody that. Nebraska's top or like tackling returner got suspended by Matt Rule, and he said, "I'm out." He said.
Speaking of recruiting, Jack, have you been following the Oklahoma fans pre-coping with this Williams, and I don't know how to say his last name, Nwaneri? I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
But he's a 5-star defensive tackle. And it looks like he might commit to Mizzou, and Oklahoma fans are pre-coping hard.
Yeah, that's the side of recruiting I like. I like how predictive it is and seeing who's doing what, who's doing who. Oh, well, not who's doing who, that'd be weird, but who's getting who on their commitment list. Yeah. But going so hard for recruiting as a fan base is where I lose people. And 5-star not committing. I mean, I get it if it's
recruiting fans and their passion for it is the weirdest thing about college football. It just is.
Yeah, that's where I lose a lot of the
recruiting is remarkably important. It's the lifeblood of a program, but the people who follow it that closely are just fucking weird.
Alabama fans were really not happy about that flip though, because I think he said something about Alabama's like, why would I want to be like a random guy at Alabama or like make my own legacy at Auburn, right?
There's one.
See, that's the mentality I think more guys should take. Like this guy that is going to this guy that might go to Missouri. He's from St. Louis, right?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you go to your in-state school and make a name for yourself? Why would you go to Oklahoma and be just a guy? Like they get 5 stars all the time.
That was it.
I don't know why you wouldn't just go be a star and be the legend. That's what I would do.
Especially in your home state, too.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going across the country to some random program to be a star, which is not necessarily a bad thing either. In your home state.
So it's Perry Thompson for the 5-star wide receiver / D-back that flipped from Alabama to Auburn. And he said,
linebacker that flipped from Georgia.
Yeah, I know Nick Saban, specializes in defensive backs, and my main position is receiver, and I know Hugh Freeze got a background of developing receivers at a higher level, which Alabama fans were like, hey, buddy, have you seen our wide receivers recently? But the only thing is, he's 17. Like, guys, like who knows if he even means that? You know why he's going to Auburn? He probably got more money.
I don't think Hugh Freeze has a reputation for developing receivers.
You know why?
Developed.
I think you know why? It's just A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf saved Hugh Freeze's reputation.
He coached them for a year. They never made a bowl game.
I know.
And Ole Miss turned those two guys who were top 15 talents into second-round picks.
You know, when Hugh Freeze is on the phone with that guy, he's like, you know who's the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL right now? My guy. You know who's like the other highest paid? My guy. I recruited them.
He coached them for like 5 minutes. All right. Before we go any further, Casey, do you have a 2-minute drill?
I do, but do you want me to save it? Are you not in the mood? But I do have one.
We'll finish off with that.
Did you also see the Tennessee thing? I feel like, was this the dupe? I'm not getting duped, right?
Well, before we talk about that Tennessee thing, I want to talk about the Barstool Sportsbook app. It is the number 1 betting app in the country. Download and sign up right now. The season is coming fast. We got all kinds of futures on there, conference winners, Heisman, national champ, all of that is there. And come season, we're going to have exclusive bets for the Unnecessary Roughness podcast, for myself, for Casey. We're going to have all kinds of exclusive bets, and that's not to mention the exclusive bets we already have with Barstool guys like Big Cat, Big Ev, and Clemmer with his baseball, Che with his basketball. We're the guys that bet with you, and we live it, breathe it with you. So go ahead and download and sign up for the Barstool Sportsbook today. Casey, we're less than a month away from betting on football.
Oh, my God. I know that the countdown is kind of an annoying thing that people do on social media, but when that calendar flips over to August 1st and you realize that not only in this month do we have college football, we have the full weekend, Labor Day weekend. I know it's, August, September, but getting to bet on college football. And I'm going to do a check-in every time, Brandon. Are we still staying strong on those 5 bets a day?
Yes. So far,
still
so
are.
good.
I keep hoping, you know what I keep thinking? That you're going to back up or back off of it before we even get to that first weekend. Like week 0, I think you'll keep it. Like
it'll be that Saturday if it's any time.
I give it to week 3 before it's definitely gone.
Katie, week 1, there's too many games. Like he's going to be betting on Thursday night, Friday night. He's going to get to Saturday and be like,
State. Oh my goodness. That's like I've circled in red pen. 23 days until kicks off. That's the real start of college football.
Well, and Jack, you can talk me out of it between now and then. There's a couple bets I love opening weekend. I love Vanderbilt covering their number, and I love UConn covering their number.
UConn's biggest football game in close to a decade is that Thursday night at home against NC State. And if you live in Connecticut and you're not going to that game, I hate you.
I'm the biggest UConn fan that day.
No, and Brennan Armstrong's going to throw 8 interceptions, and then the SEC is going to call up UConn and be like, "We need you. We need you."
All right. Download and sign up for the Barstool Sportsbook app today. Terms apply. You must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, please. Casey, give me a 2-minute drill.
Okay, so this is the conference realignment 2-minute drill, which I had I think it was like 2 episodes ago. But in light of the fact that we're going to have to talk about the news as it happens, but that after this episode, conference realignment is taking a back seat. We're just going to go ahead and do it right now. Brandon, Katie, Jack, if you could be in charge of conference realignment today, right now, you are in charge, you're God and you're playing chess. What's the first move that you would erase? And you can't say conference realignment as a whole. You actually have to pick one. What's the first one that you would take off the chessboard?
I get Nebraska out of the Big Ten. I don't think they fit. I think they're a Big 12 program. I think they should be the heart of the Big 12, frankly, especially with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I think Nebraska could tap into their roots of dominating that conference. I would get Nebraska out of the Big Ten and back to the Big 12. That would be my number 1 draft pick.
Jack, Katie?
I'm going with, and this is purely out of spite, Rutgers. You deserve nothing. You are out of the Big Ten. You are the luckiest sons of bitches in the fucking world, and I'm getting you out. See ya. Welcome to hell.
Mine's not really a take out, but it's a redo. I just do relegation.
Wait, no, she just said you have to pick one school. You can't do like a...
Oh, I thought it was a
like
concept
one
as
move,
a whole.
like
one...
instead of like reinventing the whole wheel.
Oh, when you say move, you mean
that works. She just introduces relegation.
All right, yeah.
I'd say if it's a school, I'm gonna say Vanderbilt for SEC.
Well,
Vanderbilt or Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, Tennessee covers it, but I think as a whole, just do relegation on a 5-year scale.
Okay.
All right.
Same question, but the opposite. What's the first move that you would make right now that's not already been made?
I would, if I'm the SEC, I would step in front of the Big Ten and intercept Florida State and Clemson. I think they're much more aligned with the SEC. I mean, they're in the footprint already. They belong in the SEC if they're going to go anywhere, and they should not let the Big Ten scoop those 2 teams up.
I would, yeah. That was my initial answer. I would put Notre Dame in the Big Ten to really make it just special. I think that's a team that should be playing the Ohio States, Michigans, whatnot every year.
Brandon, are you okay? You need to go.
Yeah, I didn't know I was standing up. All right, go.
I think Mizzou to the Big 12.
Nice.
Yep. All right, Brandon, this is probably more of a question for you since and this is not a shot at your age, but you are older and you've seen a lot more college football than Jack and Katie.
Yeah. Okay, shut up, bitch.
But what's been your favorite era of conferences?
Wow.
I have my answer if you want to think.
To me, I mean, my favorite era of college football is probably from like 2001 to 2010. It covers, because back then every conference was like the Pac-12 still could produce national champs. The Big 12 could still produce national champs. There wasn't this incredible imbalance. However, by the end of the decade, the SEC had taken over as the dominant conference and was winning every year. So it has like the best of both worlds, where you had Oklahoma winning a national title, you had Florida State winning a national title, you had Texas winning a national title, you had USC winning national titles, but by the end you had the SEC dominance. So I would say that 10-year period of 01 to like 10 or 11, because it was still a national sport until it wasn't.
I was going to say that exact era. It was perfect. You still had the regionality. You still had like, I mean, even East Coast football was like, that's when it was great. You know, the Big East was great then. Pac-12, Mountain West was great. I thought that was and also just from a perspective of we had information, we had the internet, but it didn't get to the point where it was so big that it's like, it's almost like you could say it's ruined a lot of things.
I want to say between 01 and 10, you had a different national champion almost every year. I mean, Florida won twice, and USC won 1.5.
So many stars too.
That was like I'm very late to the college football game, but I feel like I never saw Vince Young, Reggie Bush. Like Brady, you hear it, the highlights versus seeing it in person versus like in the TV in the moment, it's not the same.
And back then you could have different teams bubble up every year. It wasn't the same like the West Virginia team of 2007, the Texas Tech team of 2008. You had other teams bubble up and be great, and you don't really have it as much anymore.
I mean, Boston College in that 2007 season was almost with Matt Ryan.
So was Rutgers in South Florida and Kansas and Missouri and all those.
Yes, and so I think that was the peak, at least not from a popularity, just like, I mean, think about all the stars, man. Yeah. Vince. I mean, Tebow, Jimmy fucking Clausen was a star. Like
Brady Quinn was a star. Colt McCoy was a star. Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree were like
Michael Crabtree. I mean, he's just an absolute nightmare. I feel like we're gonna chase it forever, especially if you were alive and watched it during that era. But I don't know which one of you just said this, but it is so true. It's like the nationality of it, or the being a nationwide sport, but still keeping the regionality. Because as much as I like things that are changing, like the Big Ten going to get Florida State and Clemson, but then having USC and UCLA and then all the Midwest teams too. It's just like, what? Like, how is this even possible? Like, we're never going to go back to like the Southwestern Conference. Like, we're never going to go back to that.
All right. I am officially out of gas. So
okay.
Save the rest.
I'll save the rest.
I'm out of gas and I need to crash. Thank you for watching. And we're sorry we didn't have an episode the other day. I hope we explained it well. And starting Monday, we're back in full steam ahead for college football season.
Thanks for battling for us, Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who understands. We are actual people too. And Brandon is he's a strong dude, that's for sure.
Yeah, we know that.
And good looking. All right.
You've earned a few free heart and souls.
Yeah, that's unnecessary.